MC of the night. Please give it up for James Thiep.
Yeah, we like to move. We're going to say Joe Bob. That means I actually like white people. My name is James Thiep. I'm Sudanese from the country of Sudan. And Sudan is an Arabic word for black. Which is true, but since no Sudanese person has done comedy in America before, that makes me the first black comedian. Thank you. I also want to say that I have 2 kids, and their mother is a black American woman, which means my kids are half black, half black. Whenever I do comedy, I'm tempted to tell my jokes in a tribal language, and then have you guys guess what the hell I'm talking about. Because English is not easy. It's one of the most difficult languages you can learn, you know? And I ended up learning it by chance. I was training as a rebel soldier when I was about 10. And one of the kids in my unit came to me and said, "It's time to start learning English." And I said, "No." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I don't want to be a white man." So, but after the fighting, I was like, okay, now what? They said, you go to school, and it was English. And I'm here, I still don't have the American accent. And when you don't have the right accent, people doubt you. They don't think you know. And I have a situation when I go to like Walmart or Quick Trip, I can walk in there and say something as simple as fried chicken. But they would ignore it because of that assumption that I don't know. And they would come back to me and be like, "What?" And I would have to say the same thing again. Every time I say the same thing twice, people understand me. And I don't think I should be repeating myself at this point because I know the language. So I have decided to be saying things wrong the first time and say them right the second time. And I started at Pizza Hut. I walked in there, I said, "Hey, give me some pepperoni pizza." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Yes, pepperoni." And it worked. It worked, you know. But I'm aware when I do comedy, like you guys don't get the chance to ask me to repeat. So I've been practicing American accent at home. And I'm good at short phrases like, "Shut the fuck up." I can also say dick pics with no tribal accent at all. But sometimes I say them to the wrong people, like the police. I got pulled over for speeding last week, and the officer came to my window and said, "Do you know why I pulled you over, sir?" I said, "Shut the fuck up." Because I didn't think he was going to understand me the first time, but he did. Now, when it comes to the longer sentences, I still have issues with them. At this point, the only long sentence I can say in perfect American accent is, "Don't tase me, bro." And sometimes I say it before I could say the right thing. For example, tonight, I stopped at 7-Eleven on my way here, and I walk up to the cashier and I said, "Don't tase me, bro." And she said, "What?" I said, "Okay, here is $10 on pump 6. You know, I came to America with a group of people called the Lost Boys. And we were living in a refugee camp. And we got in the plane, first time to fly, actually first time to see an airplane on the ground. And 24 hours later, we were at the JFK in New York City. And I was looking for the toilets. I knew the language at the time, but it was not American. And in my search for the toilets, I saw the words restrooms. In my tribal language, that means a mortuary. So I was thinking, how frequently do people die at the airport? But then I really needed to go, so I went up to one of the airport workers and asked her for the toilets. And she pointed out the restrooms. And I thought maybe she was trying to scare me. But I took the courage. I said, okay, I'm gonna experience a little bit. So I'm making my way to the restrooms, and an American was coming out of there, and I said, "Do they smell that bad, sir?" And he said, "No, they don't. We use air fresheners in there." So I went in there, and I'm looking around, of course, for the pile of bodies, and I found the toilets. But when I was leaving, the automated flash went on, and I thought the spirit of the dead was breaking in from behind the wall. So I ran out real fast. But anyway, I ended up going to Tucson in Arizona, where I lived for 12 years. Until 2 years ago, they decided to be checking their IDs. So I came here. And my job here in town is driving a taxi. I don't recommend it. I got in a fight with 4 young white people at the Billy Bob's a few months back, right? So I pull up, and they got in the cab, and one of them said, "Hey, what's going on, my nigga?" Yeah. I don't know what you could say to that, you know. I guess I could have said, "Yeah, I'm fine, motherfucker." But it is a customer service situation, so I could not say that, you know? So I was like, okay, whatever, let's go. And I'm beginning to drive away, but one of them threw up in the cab. And they said something stupid like, "Oh, we need to get out of this cab because it smells like puke." And I said, "But you did it." They were like, "Yeah, we did it, but we still need a cleaner one." And I was trying to be nice, like take them home and then go to the car wash. But along the way, they were nagging me like they gotta go. So I pulled over on the side of the road. I said, "Okay, get the fuck out. Yeah, bitches gotta go." They didn't like that. So one of them jumped and punched me on the head. And I usually don't get in a fight until I know I'm gonna be paid for my time. And I had touched their pockets when they got in the cab. I knew they had money. So I said, okay, it's time to fight. So I knocked the shit out of one of the guys. But it wasn't like I was trying to kill him or anything, because I don't want to do that again. So I ended up taking one of their credit cards and swiped it for $150. And so far, nobody has called in to report the theft. So I'm still a good guy. Every now and then I get a call at a local motel, and a guy from out of town would come out excited, like 3 o'clock in the morning. They would come to me like, "Hey man, listen up. I need crack cocaine, methamphetamine, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I would like to get my dick sucked." I know a few crack houses in town. I can take them there, but the last part, getting the dick sucked, who's gonna do that? I don't know anybody. But when a guy is horny, they don't listen, you know. They say something like, "Hey man, listen up, you gotta help me out. I will tip you really well." Like, I'm gonna be like, okay, tip, I never had tip before. I'm gonna do it myself. I'll do it for you, you know. So, but I've been thinking about it. You know, you guys take Uber? Does anybody take Uber? Yeah, that's why my job sucks. So since Uber came to town, the cab business has been really slow. Like you can sit 3 hours at a time, man. Nobody's calling. And so I've been thinking, so okay, if you can do extra things while driving a cab, you can keep the customers. I wanna come one day, the guy comes out of the motel, I'll be like, "Hey Bill, so you know, for your information, I also do a dick sucking service." Because I can keep them, they can't go to Uber. And I think Uber should take advantage of that, because Uber is like the famous thing now, you know. They should have advertising like, "We are Uber. The only way to beat us in transportation service is to suck dicks." It will work. But I got into a situation with a young African-American female. I took her home, and the fare was $17. And she said, "I'm not gonna pay $17, I only got 11. I said, "You have to pay the whole thing." She said, "I'm not gonna pay the whole thing. Who do you think you is?" Now in Africa, when you start learning English, they encourage you to speak the simple version of the language. But this lady was much simpler than I expected. But I thought I would do it her way. So I said, okay, if you forgot who brought you home, it was me, and I is the cab driver. And who do you think you is? And she said, "That's all I got. If you don't like it, you can call them laws." Call them laws. I had called the police so many times before, but it takes too long. I had never called them laws. So I said, what's the number to them laws? And she said 911. So I didn't call. But even though I had issues with that young woman, I still like dealing with female passengers because sometimes I can take them home, they pay in full, and they will show me their titties. Every now and then, I can touch the titties, but once in a while, I end up sucking on those titties. All right, that's gonna do it for me right now. I'm gonna be the host for the show tonight.